So I made a bit of an elegant spreadsheet just to give you an idea of some things that you could do. And I used conditional formatting for these. But this is based off of the 4th edition, Fundamentals of Construction Estimating for our CMT 234 class, Chapter 4, page 49, figure 4.2 for cut and fill excavation. And so you can see that we had multiple stations. Here it is. Instead of having a manual left or right in terms of our depth of cut or depth of fill, I went ahead and just subtracted the two values. And if they turn out to be negative, then I know it's a cut. If they turn out to be positive, here's my desired versus my actual, then I know that it would be a fill. And how do you do conditional formatting? You go up, you go to conditional formatting, and if it's greater than a certain value, you put it in there. So I would put 0 and fill it in with green. Or if I want it to be less than a certain value, I'd say less than, I'd say 0, make it red. Or if I want it to be gray, then I can say if it's equal to, I'd say equal to 0, and then make it custom, and then put whatever I wanted. And so I did that for each of these. And so this is pretty valid for this shape. You can, of course, expand it out. I made borders just by going up here and choosing which border I wanted. So there's a left border. You can make a bottom here if you'd like. You can build it out however you want. Choosing formatting in Excel or any spreadsheet program is very valuable in data visualization, right? Making visual sense of information and then portraying that data. But basically, I took these values and I replaced them here. So if I make this a desired grade of 4, then you can see that the new elevation changes, and so does everything else. So I made sure that I called this. Now you can make this unique for each one if you want, or you can just delete some sections. And you don't even have to make it as intricate as this. I just wanted to show you what some of the possibilities are. So I reproduced this in the table form instead of the grid form. But again, I just took these same values. And then the frequency I manually put in. I'm sure that you could come up with a way of using if statements to do these counts. Not important. And then the area constant, I took the grid area, which is 20 by 16, and I divided it by 4, so it's always a constant, as the name suggests. And then I simply multiplied each of these together to get the volume cut or fill. So you see I elected to use just one column instead of 2 for both of these. You don't have to do that, but I thought I'd show off a little bit. And then when we have these values, I can say total cut. So I said I wanted the ones that are less than 0 to be added up. And so I used the SUMIF function, right? Sum from these if they're less than 0, which would make them negative. And that's this much cubic foot. And I divided that by 27 to get cubic yards. And then I did the same thing here. Sum if means add them up if they're positive, if they're greater than 0. These quotation marks matter, by the way. It won't recognize it otherwise. And so that ended up being divided by 27, 164 cubic yards. And again, I played around with the number of decimals showing for all of these, electing to round to the nearest upper cubic yard, which makes sense. And then this is just adding the two together, right? Because one's already negative. And then I say, what's the result? Well, if it's positive, then I wanted to just say add. And if it's not, then I wanted to say dispose. In this case, it's negative, and so it says dispose. If for some reason this were a positive, it would change that to add. So this is just an example of how you can use spreadsheets. It took me about 15 minutes to do this, and it would probably take you an hour or so if you wanted to be as intricate with this if you're not familiar with it. But if you do it very simply, like from the textbook, setting up 2 columns for these, and you really don't need to set this up too much just for your count, so you can draw that out. Then you can very easily check your work. Now, spreadsheets will come in very handy as you do other project components, and it's expected that you are practicing with spreadsheets. So experiment. I've been playing with spreadsheets for years and years, and so I'm very comfortable. Something that might take me 15 minutes might take a novice several hours. And so you want to make sure that you give yourself time to move from novice to expert level. That's me saying that I'm an expert. I'm at least pretty good. All right.